Now, is that right? Oh, fantastic. Just an absolutely massive thanks and hats off to Joanna and Joanna's team. It is, I know many of you know that I've just co-directed an online poetry festival, and there is so much work involved in putting on online events. Thank you so much for all the voluntary, and I think in the extreme, the unpaid labour that people have put into making this event possible. Yes, there's been a little event, a little blip with Eventbrite. That's nobody's fault. And I think it's brilliant that you've recorded the event and that Joanna's going to be sending out the link to everybody for this free event that you can all follow up on the first half of the event that you missed. And that we're all able to do that for free because of the work that people like Joanna have put into it. Massive, massive thanks and applause to all of you, but particular to Joanne. So in the first half, you can watch it reversed. You can go back and listen to me reading poetry about the devastation that the floods brought to West Yorkshire and lots of the country over the last couple of decades. And I promised you that I would take you forward from that narrative of devastation and also the kind of metaphorical floods. Talks about the flood as metaphor for any kind of destructive, damaging event that leaves a lot of destruction in its wake, and also the forces that sustain us, that bring us together, that support us, that help us to survive and to recover and to resist and to change, to come together as community and to survive as individuals as well. So for the last kind of 8 or 9 minutes of this event, that's what I'll read from. So we'll have maybe 5 or 6 poems from that section of flood. Rescue effort. Look, it has stopped. You lifted your sofa on blocks, you save some stock. You did whatever you could. You worked hard. Your daughter was never afraid. Now look, the sun has come back. Hedges are heavy with light. Fields shine. And those sheep are still waiting for rescue. They will be saved, as will you. And it's reflecting, you know, I think any of us who have lived through floods, but particularly in this very strong little community that I lived in. Yes, you know, as the earlier poem said, when floods receive, they don't leave a world made shiny and bright for years. We will be cleaning up shit, but also the floods brought the most incredible evidence of community and solidarity and friendship and support and love, measures of goodness. Those swilling for others, those who form armies of buckets and brushes, those bailing water from fast-filling cellars, those making cuppers for neighbours and strangers, those who would see no one cold. Those saving homes when their own have gone under, those stood behind or in front of the cameras who do it for nothing or glory or wages, those posting pictures on Facebook and Twitter, those sending texts, those risking their necks, those stopping their cars for a look. Those who battle to cattle and horses, who shoulder the weight of the sheep, their soaked fleeces, those wading waist deep on deep roads to old ladies, those on bridges that will not hold. Those driving all night to bring fodder to farmers, those making profit from badly built houses, those who make thunder, those born to power, who shoulder the blame for the rain and the river, those who have ruined your town, who have choked up the drains, who have broken your home, those who send water to drown all the chickens, those who would watch you go down and your children, who are rain, and those who are sun. And thank you. I think, you know, we're here for Fairtrade Fortnight, and we're recognising how many people involved in fair trade are some going to move through that. I think we'll have another kind of shouty, rhythmic one, but again about that movement forward from flood. That movement, I guess the point of change where we go, enough of this, let's move into something else. Catastrophic devastation, damage complete. Enough of rapid water, enough of the Corinthian roar, enough of the anger, enough of the colder, enough of the Eden and Loon and the cock of the air and the Derwent, the river and Greta, enough of the Don and the D and the Coulter, enough of the waiting, enough of the checking, enough of waking up each night to listen to rain, the rhythm of rain on the roof. Enough of the grief of packing your stuff. Enough of slipping and losing your footing, of trying to stand up again. Enough of being wet of water. Enough of tap and bath and shower. Enough of gentle rain on flowers. Enough of love and where it takes us, ruined places. Enough of broken shops and homes. Enough of dreams. Enough of plans. Enough of made up words for weather. Enough of words that did not save us. Enough of friends with shut down faces. Enough of toppled trees uprooted. Enough of major structures shifted. Enough of wood and concrete lifted. Enough of nothing left to lift. Enough of nothing left. Enough of loss. Enough of luck. Enough of Worley, Keswick, York, enough of what will not come back, enough of what we could not change. Enough of grief and anger, love. Enough of rain. It's funny, whenever I get to the end of that poem, even though I wrote it, I always hear a soundtrack of rain playing in the back of my head. And just a reminder that for those of us who were only able to get in late, which includes somebody in my living room, weirdly enough, that this is about the real floods that did inundate the Calder Valley repeatedly over the last couple of decades. I'm going to read just two poems more. One is about flood, again, as a kind of metaphor for wider forces. And then I'm going to end with a very personal one about my daughter, who's in another house at the moment, but in the audience. She's down as H. Griffin. You can wave to Neve. Flood as redemption. In knowing the value of light when it has gone out, in knowing the true weight of rain, the carpet will stink and the fridge will not make it. In seeing what needs to be done and in doing it, in wading in up to your waist, in staring the sky in the face, in meeting the storm head on in the drink of it, in how you were soaked to the skin in the rain sweeping in how all your rivers were one in the chemistry of it, molecules pushed to their limit in the moment of pivot and spill, in what you thought would hold forever. Earth gone to water, tree turned to river, the shifting of boulder, the bringing together of neighbour and stranger in the swim of it, in what it did to our town, in knowing it will come again, and in singing it, writing it down. So with massive thanks to people like Joanna, who see what needs to be done and do it, all the people involved in fair trade, the producers and the retailers and the activists, and massive thanks to people like Zoe and Christian who do what that poem's all about, really, which is use language to bring about social change. And the change that we're all about is a fairer planet, whether that's at the level of climate or interpersonal violence, or fair trade retail. And this is a poem for my daughter, who believes in all of those things and is always on at me to stop using plastic. This is for her. This is teaching your daughter to swim. And Neve, I am doing my very best. Teaching your daughter to swim in open waters. Though you don't know the depth of the lake at its centre, who might have died there, whether the pike will scare her or bite her, if the current will pull her down. At the level of water, the mountains are higher. The cold is a world she will walk to and enter, where deep mud is softer than skin. Let the pebbles swim under her feet. All the darkness beneath her is answered by birds, and the trees will be tall and kind. The sun will light up the water above her. When there's no ground left to stand on, then she'll fly. Though the cold makes her teeth ache, she can take it. The rain cannot soak her. The swan will not harm her. No dead man will reach out his hand. You will watch her, leaving the shore behind, and the current will flow the right way. That day, the water will hold her and take her far from you. Now let her go from you. Let go. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Lovely Friday night thing to do. And I think there's many more activities on offer. So thank you for this opportunity, Joanna. And thank you also very, very much for the chocolate.
Yeah, it's very much all about the chocolate. Thank you so much, Claire. Thank you to Zoe and Christian, and thank you to everybody for coming and bearing with us through the technical difficulties. It was just joyous to hear such beautiful poems. So yeah, Claire's poems are in the Flood, is it called? The volume. Do you want to show us what it looks like? There we go. Clare Shaw Flood. And then hang on till June for the 100 Poems to Save the Earth. Thank you very much. Now, those of you that want to go to the Fairtrade Foundation's quiz, that's just about to start. Apparently, one of the rounds has been read out by Nick Hewer, so we have celebrities over there. So by all means, go and leave. So I'm just going to round this up by saying thank you very much to everybody. I'm going to share another video from a producer just explaining about what climate change means to them. So if you just bear with me, I'll do that.
Academy project. My name is Van. Joroge. I work with Fairtrade Africa as senior program officer and supporting 5 producer organizations, coffee producer organizations, in adapting and mitigating climate change through the Climate Academy project. I'm a Swell coffee farmer, and I understand the challenges that meet coffee farmers because of the changes in climate. In the last few decades, is that rains don't come at the right time. Sometimes it is too hot, sometimes it is too cold. These unprecedented weather changes affect the way coffee tree behaves, the flowering, the quality of the beans that are harvested, even the quantity is affected. And these have affected the quality and the quantity of the coffee that is produced by the farmers. And what is happening is that once the quality has been affected, the prices earned by the farmers are low. When the quantity is lower than was expected, it means that the income as well is low. If the farmer's income is low, this would mean that the farmers would not be able to pay school fees for their children. They will not be able to afford the health bills. And in most cases, because this is what we have witnessed, instead of the farmer having 3 meals in a day, sometimes they depend on only 1 meal. And therefore, the Climate Academy project is trying to address some of these challenges by helping our farmers to adapt and mitigate climate change. I'm so happy to tell you that through what we have seen the Climate Academy do with our farmers, right now, the farmers are able to get their income through other income generating activities that we have initiated, and therefore the resilience has increased with our farmers as well. We have given hope that the trees that they have planted will bring shade, and therefore the crop will as well build that resilience that is needed. And other than being affected in a big way, the production will still be assured. That's for coffee and other crops that the farmers depend with.
Thanks very much, and we'll see you at the next event.
Thank you, Joanna. Are you whizzing off to your quiz now?
I am going to, yeah, I just need to look through the chat because I've chosen my 3 winners and I've only had 2 addresses from them, and it has a terrible habit of deleting direct messages if I'm not careful, so I need to check through and see if I've had all 3 addresses. If not, I can email the person that hasn't.
That was great.
I was going to say, I'm sorry that I'm sorry I gave the answer.
Well, that's okay. To be honest, normally I ask something
really
that's
funny.
so obvious.
That was so funny. It's
because you just want loads of people to answer it, but when we have
it's just gut instinct when you hear someone say, "What's the anthology?" You just can't stop yourself going, "It's £100."